It was the ship that God himself could not sink.
That is what they said.
That is what they believed. And on the night of April 14, 1912, the entire world was about to learn just how catastrophically wrong they were. More than 3 miles beneath the surface of the North Atlantic Ocean, the wreck of the RMS Titanic still lies in darkness, split in two, swallowed by the deep, surrounded by the bones of over 1,500 souls who never made it home.
For more than a century, we have told ourselves
that the Titanic was simply a tragedy. A perfect storm of bad luck and thin ice. But the truth is far more disturbing than that. Because the Titanic did not just sink. It was allowed to sink to food by arrogance, by greed, by decisions made in boardrooms and drawing rooms long before that ship ever touched water. This is the story of the dream that became a disaster. The secrets that were buried with the dead. And the last night that changed the world.
Forever.
In the spring of 1907,
two of the most per dinner in London. We must control the North Atlantic trade routes, at any cost, my friend.
J. Bruce Ismay, the chairman of the White Star Line, and William James Peary, the chairman of Harland and Wolff Shipyard. Over the course of that single evening,
they sketched out a vision so grand, so audacious, it had never been attempted before. 3 ships, Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic, each one an ocean-going city. Each one nearly 900 feet long, each one carrying the promise of luxury,
speed, and invincibility. The RMS Titanic was the second of these giants. She was built in Belfast, Ireland, at the Harland and Wolff Shipyard, Cowtons, a place so massive it employed over 14,000 workers at its peak. For 3 years, an army of men hammered, welded, and riveted her into existence. 3 million rivets held her hull together. Her boilers stood 3 stories tall. Her grand staircase descended 4 full decks. Beneath a domed skylight of wrought iron and glass, she was, by every measure available to the human eye, magnificent. But here is the first secret.
The brochures never mentioned. The Titanic was never actually advertised as unsinkable.
Not officially. That word, that dangerous, intoxicating word,
was used informally, recklessly, by the press.
Gentlemen, the Titanic is the safest ship ever built, and her prestige, a floating palace. Indeed, a triumph of engineering.
And by the public imagination itself.
It became a prophecy.
And prophecies, as history keeps reminding us, have a way of tempting fate. The ship was designed with 16 watertight compartments. She could stay afloat with any 2 flooded, or even 4 of the forward compartments. Thomas Andrews, her chief designer,
The calculations confirm the design. She can withstand significant flooding.
called her practically unsinkable.
Practically. That one word
was quietly swallowed by the noise of pride.
By the time Titanic set sail on April 10, 1912, from Southampton, England, she carried 2,224 souls, passengers and crew, and the weight of an empire's confidence in its own greatness.
2 first-class tickets for the Titanic, please.
First-class passengers paid the equivalent of today's $50,000 for a single ticket. They dined on oysters, roasted squab, and lamb with mint sauce. They lounged in a swimming pool. They sipped brandy in a smoking room lined with mahogany and mother of pearl. Meanwhile, in the lower decks, the third-class passengers, immigrants mostly, chasing the American dream, were packed into tight bunks, sharing bathrooms, eating simple meals, dreaming of new lives in New York. 2 worlds, 1 ship, and a darkness approaching from the north. Now we come to the secrets.
The ones nobody likes to talk about.
In the days before the disaster,
The Titanic received no fewer than 6 iceberg warnings from ships in the area.
6 warnings.
Transmitted via wireless telegraph.
Received. Logged.
And in several cases, never passed along to the bridge. One message from the SS Californian, a ship that would later be found idling just 10 miles away,
Was brushed aside by the Titanic's wireless operator, Jack Phillips.
Who snapped back? Shut up, I am busy.
Social messages.
pleasantries between the wealthy and their distant families.
The warnings of death are real.
As were treated as an inconvenience. And then there is the question of speed. On the night of April 14th, the Titanic was traveling at 22.5 knots, nearly full speed, through waters known to be littered with ice. Standard maritime practice called for caution in such conditions. Reduce speed. Post extra lookouts. Alter course. Captain Edward Smith, a seasoned officer, making his final voyage before retirement, did none of these things. And why?
The answer may lie with one man.
It's getting colder, sir. Standing in the shadows of the bridge that night.
J. Bruce Ismay himself, the chairman of White Star Line, was on board. Witnesses later testified that Ismay had pressured the captain to mainings, to maintain speed,
Perhaps even to arrive in New York a day ahead of schedule.
A triumphant early arrival would have meant headlines. It would have meant glory.
I deny it. But the evidence suggests otherwise, Mr. Ismay. The evidence is mistaken.
But Ismay also survived, one of the few men to climb into a lifeboat.
While women and children still waited on deck.
History has never forgive him for it.
There is something else. Something darker still. The lifeboats.
The Titanic carried 20 lifeboats.
With a total capacity of approximately 1,178 people.
But she was carrying 2,224. Do the mathematics yourself. Even if every single lifeboat had been filled to capacity, which they were not.
More than 1,000 people would still have been left behind. And here is the appalling truth. The Titanic was actually carrying more lifeboats than British maritime regulations required at the time. The regulations, written for smaller ships of an earlier era, had simply never been updated. No one had thought to update them. No one believed a ship like this could ever need more. The designer, Thomas Andrews, had originally proposed 48 lifeboats. He was told by management that they cluttered the deck.
Those lifeboats really do spoil the view.
Indeed.
The number was cut to 20, then left there. At 11:40 in the evening on April 14, 1912, the lookout Frederick Fleet spotted something in the darkness ahead. A shape. Low and black and enormous against the starless water.
Iceberg! Right ahead!
He grabbed the telephone and rang the bridge. 3 short rings.
Bridge here. Report.
Context confirmed. Approaching from the east.
The words that followed were calm, simple, devastating. Iceberg.
Right ahead. Hard to starboard! Hard to starboard, sir. Wheels over!
The engines reversed. The ship began to turn. For 37 agonizing seconds, the Titanic's bow swung left. And it seemed she might clear it. But the iceberg scraped along the starboard side below the waterline, opening a series of small punctures and buckled seams. Across 6 of the 16 watertight compartments. Not a dramatic gash. Not the single catastrophic slice that popular imagination invented. Just a series of quiet, almost gentle failures. Along nearly 300 feet of hull, the sea began to pour in. Thomas Andrews rushed below to inspect the damage. He calculated quickly, precisely, the way brilliant men do in their worst moments. He found Captain Smith in the chart room.
Captain, she is sinking. The ship will be gone in 2 hours.
And told him the truth that did gear. She could stay afloat 1 hour.
Possibly 2. She was going to the bottom.
At 12:05 in the morning.
The order was given to uncover the lifeboats. What followed was not a calm, orderly evacuation.
Utter chaos! Women and children first. Step lively now.
Shadowed by moments of haunting beauty.
The band played.
You have heard this detail before, perhaps so many times that it has lost its power.
But think about it again. While cold water climbed the grand staircase,
while the ship groaned and tilted,
Hold on! The deck is giving way!
Can't, it's tilting too much!
While people screamed and prayed and wept,
8 men stood on a tilting deck and played music. Not because they were ordered to.
because they chose to.
They played to give comfort.
They played because there was nothing else they could give. None of them survived.
Their names deserve to be spoken aloud. Wallace Hartley, John Hume, George Crins, Percy Taylor, Theodore Brayley, John Woodward, Fred Clark, John Wesley Woodward.
Meanwhile, the first lifeboats were being launched, half empty. Lifeboat number 1, with a capacity of 40 people, was launched carrying 12. Lifeboat 7 launched with only 28 of its 65 seats filled.
Officers, uncertain of the ship's true condition.
Worried the boats might buckle under a full load.
Passengers, uncertain of the danger, preferred the warmth of the ship
to the black uncertainty of the sea. And so the boats went down, again and again, carrying far fewer than they should have. Class was not equal in death.
First-class passengers had a survival rate of over 60%.
This way, ma'am. Mind your step.
Second class, approximately 42%.
We must get to the boats.
But there are so few.
Third class, those immigrants in the lower decks, dreaming they're American, survived at a rate of less than 25%.
The gates to the upper decks were not always opened in time.
Some steerage passengers were told to wait below.
Stay where you are!
But why? We must get through. While the wealthy took their seats in the boats above. The water was rising fast. History has debated the exact details.
The records are inconsistent.
But the numbers do not lie. The numbers speak with terrible clarity. At 2:17 in the morning, the lights of the Titanic flickered and went dark. At 2:20, she was gone. The water temperature that night was 28 degrees Fahrenheit, 2 degrees below freezing. The person in that water had, at best, 15 minutes before hypothermia claimed consciousness. Most survivors in the water were dead within 30 minutes.
And the lifeboats, half empty, rocking in the calm Black Sea.
Mostly did not go back.
The survivors listened to the screaming, and they did not go back. One boat returned.
Heave together, boys! Steady now!
Rowed back into the field of bodies and the sound of dying.
They pulled 6 people from the water.
One died on the way to safety. The RMS Carpathia, racing through the night at her maximum speed, arrived at 4:10 in the morning. She found 710 survivors clinging to 20 lifeboats. She found silence where a city had been.
She found the Atlantic, flat and dark and undisturbed.
As if nothing had ever sailed across its surface at all. 1,017 people died.
In 2 hours and 40 minutes.
On a ship of dreams and steel, luxury knew no bounds. That was never supposed to sink. The aftermath shook the world.
Investigations were launched on both sides of the Atlantic.
J. Bruce Ismay was excoriated in the press, called the coward of the Titanic, and spent the rest of his life in retreat, haunted by what he had survived. Captain Smith went down with his ship. Thomas Andrews went down with his ship.
The SS Californian, which had sat idle just miles away while the distress rockets fired into the sky, became the most condemned vessel in maritime history. Her captain stripped of his command and his reputation a lick. Maritime law was rewritten from the ground up. Ships were required to carry enough lifeboat space for every single person on board. A permanent ice patrol was established in the North Atlantic, a service that continues to this day.
The wireless operator was now required to remain on duty. Around the clock. Every warning, every signal, every call from the dark.
To be answered.
But the dead do not come back for regulations. The dead lie 3 miles beneath the surface of the sea.
In a darkness so complete that light itself has never touched them. Since that April morning, when the sun rose on an empty ocean and an altered world.
In 1985, oceanographer Robert Ballard finally found the wreck. Finally found the wreck.
2 pieces.
Bow and stern, separated by nearly a quarter-mile of seafloor. Surrounding them, an enormous debris field. Dishes, shoes, suitcases, wine bottles, children's toys. Personal belongings that have outlasted the people who touched them. The grand staircase is gone, eaten by the sea. But the ship's telegraph still stands. Its hands frozen, pointing to the last order ever given on the bridge.
All stop.
"113 years have passed.
Since the Titanic slipped beneath the waves.
We have written books about her and made films about her.
And built museums in her honor.
We have sung her songs.
She survived, but the memories haunt her.
We must honor their strength.
Their stories of her tears across generations.
And still we return to her, again and again. Because she is not simply a story about a ship.
She is a story about us.
About the human need to believe in our own invincibility. About the hubris that whispers we have mastered nature. Conquered the elements. Built something too magnificent to fail. About the quiet, ordinary failures, a warning ignored. A regulation unread. A lifeboat half empty. A gate kept closed. That accumulate one by one into catastrophe. The Titanic did not sink because an iceberg was in her path.
Because an iceberg was in her path.
The Titanic sank because the people who built her, sailed her, and sent her into the night believed too completely. In their own greatness. And the sea, cold and indifferent and ancient beyond imagination, corrected that belief. With a finality from which there was no appeal. The ship that was never supposed to sink is still down there in the dark. And she will be there long after the last person who remembers her name is gone. Long after the last person who remembers her name is gone. A monument not to human achievement, but to the cost of human pride. Some lessons, it seems,